Kentucky Horse Racing Commission approved emergency administrative regulations that are required to open sports wagering in Kentucky. And in just a few moments, I'm going to sign them. This action means that Kentuckians may make their first ever sports bet in Kentucky 59 days from now. "59 days from now will be just in time for the NFL kickoff, tailgating, and for a large part of the college football season. For instance, September 7th is the first regular season game of the NFL. It's also when Murray State plays Louisville, and it's just a couple days before Kentucky plays EKU. Retail locations can open September 7th, 2023, followed by mobile applications on September 28th with more details to come." You know, when you look back at this, the odds were against us. But we were determined to get sports betting passed in Kentucky, and we got it done. And there are so many reasons it's going to benefit our state. Bringing sports wagering to Kentucky means more money to support our pensions for our hardworking law enforcement, our educators, every state, city, and county employee. I want to see any freed up dollars going to support public education, economic development, disaster recovery, and other necessary projects. Projects like providing clean drinking water to our families, building safer roads, and supporting high-speed internet. These are investments that help us build the Kentucky that we all want and the Kentucky that our kids deserve. Getting to this exciting moment took a lot of hard work. For years, many of us in this room pushed to pass sports betting. And this year, I got to sign bipartisan legislation, primarily sponsored by Representative Michael Meredith of Oakland. Let's give him a big round of applause. I appreciate Representative Meredith. He worked very hard on this, and I'm told that today he's joined by his daughter, who introduced herself as the boss. I get that. I also want to thank so many, including those in the Senate who supported this measure, including Senator Damon Thayer, who could not be with us today. So many additional sponsors: Representative Gentry, Banta, Ballman, Dixon, Flannery, Graham, Huff, Cook, Osborne, Palumbo, Roberts, Stevenson, Timoney, and Wilson. Those are Democrats, those are Republicans, those are people just working together to give Kentuckians what they have wanted for many years. And a big thanks goes to former Representative Adam Koenig, who's with us here today. Thank you for your work. We also have many to thank at the Public Protection Cabinet, including Secretary Ray Perry, as well as the Horse Racing Commissioner Chairman John Rabinowitz, Director Eads. You know what? Thank you to this entire commission for passing these emergency regulations today. We gave you a very tight timetable, and you've delivered. Thank you all. The Kentucky Horse Racing Commission has a long history of regulating wagering in Kentucky, and I have confidence, full confidence, in their ability to regulate sports betting. Since the legislation passed, the commission has been hard at work. They have met with representatives in states that have recently launched sports wagering so that we could learn the best practices and what to avoid. They met with industry experts, and they have communicated on these and other potential regulations with those like the Red Mile that will be carrying them out to make sure we have a united front and that everyone involved can deliver the very best of services. It has been collaborative at the same time that it has been very, very fast. That was the request made by the General Assembly. That was the push by the administration, and that's exactly what you're seeing getting done today. The Horse Racing Commission has increased staffing, and they have laid out regulations that protect Kentucky bettors and ensure our wagering systems are responsible. Because of all their hard work, they're going to be rewarded with even more work. To make these ambitious deadlines a reality, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, July 11th, each of Kentucky's licensed horse racing facilities can apply to the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission for a retail sports book at their main location or at a licensed satellite location. That is tomorrow. These facilities include Churchill Downs in Louisville, Ellis Park in Henderson, Ellis Park, Owensboro, coming soon. Keeneland, Lexington, Turfway Park, Florence, Kentucky Downs, Franklin. Here at the Red Mile in Lexington, Derby City Gaming and Derby City Gaming downtown, both in Louisville. The Mint Gaming Hall in Bowling Green. The Mint Gaming Hall in Williamsburg. Newport Racing and Gaming in Newport. Oak Grove Gaming and Racing in Oak Grove. Sandy's Gaming and Racing coming soon to Ashland. And Cumberland Run coming soon to Corbin. We appreciate the support of our great Kentucky horse racing tracks, and we anticipate that each facility that is open and chooses to apply can open a retail location, and many, we believe most all, will be ready to launch September the 7th. Then each of these facilities can partner with up to 3 marketing platforms for mobile wagering, which can be launched on September 28th. For years, I have believed that today was not only possible, but would happen. Virtually every state around us had already done it. But again, against the odds, with bipartisan support, it got through the finish line, and we are here today signing the emergency regulations to make it a reality. We did it together in a bipartisan way, and I am proud of that work. Now that this important legislation is here, it is just going to add to a booming economy, adding jobs at all of these locations. For the first time in our history, we have over 2 million jobs filled in the Commonwealth, our lowest annual unemployment rate last year, our lowest monthly unemployment rate a couple of months ago. More and better jobs for our people, more opportunity for our children, a better chance for our kids, no matter how big they dream, to chase those dreams right here in Kentucky. Together, we've recorded huge budget surpluses and lower taxes, both income and the property tax rate. Now, this new industry will bring new jobs, new tourism, and growth. Now, I know I made a lot of thank yous earlier, but I really want to thank the people of our Commonwealth, because that's who we serve, and that's who the General Assembly and the executive branch were responding to. When that percentage of people want something like this, want to spend their entertainment dollars in this way, and we can keep them in state and even bring in a few others, that's exactly what we're supposed to do, carry out the will of the people of Kentucky. Now, before I sign the regulations, I'd like to invite a few speakers up. The first is the man who just shepherded these emergency regulations through their passage by the Horse Racing Commission, a guy who's worked really hard, both before this and since it's come up, and that is John Rabinowitz, chairman of the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission.
The governor said it was dangerous giving me a mic, so I'll be brief, always. All right. Well, thank you, Governor, and what a great day for Team Kentucky. Governor, it's your leadership that brings us together today to sign these historic regulations. Thank you for recognizing the potential sports wagering has to positively impact the state. Thank you for supporting the passing of the legislation, and thank you for trusting the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission and Public Protection Cabinet in rolling out these regs. Governor, it was your ambitious timeline that will allow Kentuckians to place wagers at the start of the NFL season. I remember meeting with you and your team in your office right after the bill passed, and you looked at me and you said, don't worry, you're going to have all the help you need to get these things rolled out. And that has come into fruition, and I can't thank you enough, and thank the PPC enough. I want to commend my fellow commissioners, especially Commissioner May and Shoup, for their commitment and due diligence in working on these regulations. And I'd like to personally thank Executive Director Eads and the staffs of the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission and the Public Protection Cabinet who've worked tirelessly in getting us to this point. And I know these staffs will continue to push to get us over the finish line to launch sports wagering in Kentucky. The conversations the KHRC staff and PPC had with regulators in multiple states and various industry experts laid the groundwork for these regulations. Thank you to the many state regulators, service providers, licensed associations, and others who consulted with us during this collaborative process. Your insights and best practices were important in helping shape these regulations. So as the governor referenced earlier, next steps. The KHRC is ready to do the work of getting associations licensed and ready to take sports wagers. Starting tomorrow, licensing will open and the KHRC staff will start reviewing applications when received. After the initial licensing process, a complete list of retail locations will be available, and Kentuckians can start making plans for in-person wagering followed by mobile applications. Of course, all of this started with House Bill 551. I want to thank the legislators here today. I saw Representative Cook and others that couldn't be here, some of which I've spoken with this morning, that helped get this bill done. Thank you for getting this passed for Kentuckians. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing the bill's sponsor and sports wagering supporter, my good friend, Representative Michael Meredith, and the boss.
You know, today is a long-awaited day for Kentuckians across the breadth and depth of the Commonwealth who have wanted sports wagering now for many, many years. There were a lot of people that asked and questioned even why the Horse Racing Commission to do the regulations and the licensing for this, and you see it today. We set a pretty tough timeline by the first of the year, less than 6 months from the day that the bill would become law to go into effect. But you see the work that's been done by Chairman Rabinowitz, by Jamie Eads, by Wakas Ahmed, and the entire team over at the Racing Commission, and you see exactly why we knew the Racing Commission was the right place for this to be housed and regulated. A lot of people, as you said, Governor, didn't think this could happen this year. It took a 3/5 majority in the legislature to pass this. But I had faith that we could do it, but we couldn't have done it again without the bipartisan support of so many, many who couldn't be here today because they're out of state right now, traveling with the summer season. But I want to recognize a few of them who were really big parts of this. And that is Speaker David Osborne, who was a huge leader on this and so many other issues. I want to thank Majority Floor Leader Damon Thayer in the Senate for his work. Julie Rocky Adams, the Majority Caucus Chair in the Senate, who did a ton of work as well. I want to thank my friends and colleagues in the House who are here today. Representative Gentry, who's been a longtime co-sponsor of the bill. Representative Cook, who shepherded it through his committee and also has worked on so many other issues for this industry, whether it be the gray gaming bill that we passed this session, the HHR bill from a few sessions ago. He has shepherded so many of those things through the legislature. Being in Lexington today, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Representative Sherilyn Stevenson, Representative Killian Timoney, and Representative Chad All for their work as well. I also want to thank Rachel Roberts for all of her work in passing the bill this year as well. There were a few big surprises as we came down to the last minutes of this bill. Senate President Stivers, Senator Smith, Senator Storm, and Senator Webb over on the Democratic side in the Senate, who, though has not been a huge gaming supporter, has always been a huge supporter of the horse racing industry in the state. You know, it was President Kennedy, I believe, who made the comment that success has 1,000 fathers, but failure is an orphan. And we have a lot of fathers of the success of House Bill 551 today, but he's already been mentioned. It was Representative Adam Koenig who had beat his head against the wall for the last 5 years since PASPA was repealed by the federal judiciary, and who kept coming back to the well to pass this bill. I was his co-sponsor. I was his ride-along on that bill for all those years, and he will always be known as the godfather of Kentucky sports wagering. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you to the Horse Racing Commission for your hard work and everything that you've done. And Governor, thank you for pushing the timeline and making this happen even earlier than we had hoped for and expected. Thank you.
All right, next let's welcome our Secretary of the Public Protection Cabinet, who offered resources and a significant amount of work to get this done, Secretary Ray Perry.
First off, I want to thank everyone that made today possible, especially the staff, the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, and the Public Protection Cabinet. They worked long nights, weekends. I got to witness it. It was incredible, and we would not be here today without their efforts. What we have delivered here is sports wagering for Kentucky, designed to protect bettors. With these regulations, Kentucky can be sure that their bets are safe, their money is protected, and there is effective oversight and enforcement if the law is not followed. And if anybody here is eager to place a bet, circle September 7th on their calendars and visit one of our facilities, like this beautiful place right here at the Red Mile. And with that, Governor, I think it's time to sign these regulations.
All right, all right. You want to invite the commissioner?
Yeah. Can we get the other commissioners still present?
Why don't we invite the other commissioners that are present, along with all of our legislators, to come on up and be a part of this signing. All right, we have 11. You've been at one of these before, haven't you? No? This magic pen makes it a lot. Ready? And it's on the fours. And let's do it. Pass to you. That's all right, here you go. Secretary also has to sign. See, now you have a signing pen too. Sharon, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. We pass this. All right. We are now happy to take questions on this topic. If anybody wants to grab me on a different one, we'll do it directly afterwards. But let's start on sports betting.
Governor, do you anticipate all the tracks being able to offer brick and mortar, have brick and mortar sportsbooks open on the 7th?
Well, certainly we expect the tracks that are completed and completely renovated to be open on the 7th. But in the end, each of the tracks will have to go through the process. We'll have to secure the license, but we anticipate that will happen, certainly for the ones that are up and operating right now. Ashland is certainly under construction right now, so we may see some come online shortly thereafter, but we expect most all, if not all, of our tracks that are running today to be operational on the 7th.
Can you go through and explain how the state makes money on each sports bet?
Sure. There is a tax rate for online sports books of 14.25%. The tax rate for retail sports books will be 9.7% of gross gaming revenue. So it doesn't necessarily come out of each bet. The calculation goes in those terms. There is also an initial $500,000 fee for the initial license and a $50,000 renewal fee. And that's for the tracks, the sports betting operators. It's a $50,000 initial fee with a $10,000 renewal. So there will be upfront payments, there will be renewal payments, and there will be an annual taxable amount that comes back to the Commonwealth. Right now, we expect revenue for the Commonwealth to be about $23 million. Anticipate over time it will grow from that.
Why does it take longer to get the online up and running before
What we've seen from other states in terms of best practices in getting people signed up, making sure that there aren't underage people signing up, finding out where the different challenges are. I mean, we're doing this with emergency regulations to start. We have to get it up and running. But there's no question we're going to learn some things, both from the initial period that is solely at the tracks, but then also as they move towards regular regulations, the General Assembly is able to provide more thoughts as well. So I view this is our launch period where we're going to learn a lot and we'll achieve more permanency as we move into certainly next year with the regular regulations that will replace the E-regs.
Do those regular regulations also have to meet the 6-month time frame?
No, we'll be up and running. And then what will happen is the General Assembly will hold a hearing on the E-regs. They'll be able to comment on those, and it'll go through a longer process. Absent some things happening that I do not believe will happen, the E-regs will be in effect until the ordinary regs are approved.
Is there a timeline where the operator licenses, they open tomorrow and the service provider licenses open? Are those only open for a certain amount of time, or are they open forever?
Okay, why don't you?
The Racing Commission will be prepared to accept applications tomorrow, but if for some reason someone wanted to put one in next week, that's fine too. Is that answering your question? There's no timetable, yeah.
So there's no end date of when the application period will be?
I don't foresee it, no. I mean, we have, Ashland's a great example because they don't have a brick and mortar, so they could presumably apply for the retail part in October.
Can you apply for an online one before a brick and mortar, or does it have to be step one and then online?
Well, the operators are who the enabling legislation identifies, so those are our 9 racetracks, so they all have retail, but they don't, I guess I'm not answering that very well. You don't have to have, like Ashland does not have to have its retail open in order to offer mobile on the 28th.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ashland can't start on September 7th, but they will be able to start with their partners on the 28th. And go ahead, John.
I was going to add one thing. We are, you kind of heard it, one of the things people were worried about was when can mobile roll out? Like when are they going to roll out? When can they sign up? We're allowing sign up for mobile right away. So you may not be able to place the bets mobile, but you can sign up. And we thought that was important, as well as getting people to these facilities to see what they've done in some of these racing sports books.
But one of the reasons you don't see a specific timetable is that the number of licenses are limited because the number of track licenses are limited, and then each of them can have a certain number of online partners.
So just a clarifying question on that. If Ashland were to say get their HHR parlor up before September 7th, would they then be able to have a retail sports book?
Yeah, they would be able to have a retail sports book starting September 7th if it was operational, if HHR was operational before. But certainly by the 28th, they can go live with their online partners.
Governor, is that $23 million between now and the end of the year per?
That's an annual. Technically, it'll be a fiscal year, so kind of an annual.
I got you. How important was it for you to get this in place now? Because we talk about other states and everything, even though we're kind of a basketball state. I mean, the start of football season is the big time for these sports games.
Well, you look back at the last Super Bowl and how much was bet nationwide, and you saw what we lost out on, and that's why I am confident that we will exceed these initial revenue estimates. But in the end, this was about making sure that our people aren't traveling elsewhere for their entertainment. Think about how many people go in the first round of the NCAA to Las Vegas and other places. Now there'll be an option to stay here and have much of that entertainment experience. But the other piece is when you think about losing $23+ million, that's going to pave other people's roads. That's going to help with health care for other people's kids. That's going to help pay educator salaries for other states' educators. This is about keeping our dollars at home. But when you look at world-class facilities, at the Red Mile and at others, I believe we're going to be drawing a lot of dollars from other states into Kentucky.
Is there any concern that you're moving too quickly on this?
I believe that we're not inventing the wheel, and thus we're not reinventing it either. There are so many examples out there that have launched in these last couple years. We had a number of prime examples on how to get it done. There was significant communication between the various companies that are going to be a part. There was a back and forth in the creation of the regulations. I'm confident that on September 7th and then on September 28th, it's going to work. It's going to be a pretty seamless experience for those spending their entertainment dollars, but I do believe that there will be changes over time because we want the very best system that we can. So I think we will be ready by that time, but certainly as we learn, I want us to be willing to adapt to make this the most desirable state to come and spend those dollars in, but also to protect everybody involved.
Most states restrict sports betting to 21 and over. Why is 18 the right age?
Well, that was in the statute. And so in the end, because that was in the statute, that's what we operationalize. I don't know if you want to comment.
I'll be happy to answer that. It's consistent with all the other wagering laws in Kentucky, whether it be the lottery, charitable gaming, horse racing, wagering. It's just consistent with that. And I thought it made sense to keep it with the same consistency.
Sure.
Will you make the first bet?
Oh,
And because of his own extensive athletics career, will Rocky Adams, your supervisor, media administration senior advisor on wagering week?
So I will be excited to make the first bet in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I've been for sports betting since I began running. I believe that we can do this responsibly. I believe that this administration, this General Assembly, will get it done. I'll be proud to make that first bet. Now, I'll be really interested in who Morehead State University is playing the next weekend, and I want to see what Rocky does on that bet. Thank you all very much.